Welcome to Burning Metal Shooting the Breeze episode 12. In this episode, I'm joined by Tony Carberry of Rest of Nation and the All Ireland Metal Project. How are things, Matt?
How's things, man? All good, all good. Yourself?
Not too bad, not too bad. So, our little heat wave is over now anyway. How did you find the whole 10
Oh
minutes of
man,
sun?
I was just laughing and I was looking at your podcast there with Andy Clark last week, and you were saying you're just like living shorts all year long or anything like that, and it doesn't bother you at all. And man, the heat, I'm not built for it. Andy was saying that he loves it.
Hmm.
Yeah, I'm the complete fucking opposite. I was sweating in this office here, man. It's much cooler tonight, so
Yeah, yeah,
thank fuck.
exactly. Like, I won't lie to you, man, that podcast was difficult because the heat, man. I was trying to think it. I'd never met Andy before. So I was
Yeah,
trying to
he's a
keep,
lovely guy.
I was trying to think of things to ask him, and I was like, "Oh, fuck off! Like it's too fucking hot." Like,
Yeah, he was just sitting there with a perfect tan on him, man. He was on
yeah,
about scuba diving and all sorts of stuff, and I was like, "Fucking hell, I'm boring as fuck. I'm going to be coming on to this podcast next week, and I have no interest in hobbies like that."
oh, fuck it. I was
Ah,
getting
fuck.
increasingly stuck to the fucking couch as time was going on too. I nearly needed a fucking pliers in the end just to kind of get
It's
myself
just
up
a
off. But
reef
like,
crowbar.
exactly, yeah, crowbar. That's the right. That's what I was trying to think of. Yeah, yeah, yeah. Anyways,
Leverage.
yeah, we'll go back a bit in time. Like, you obviously you're known for metal, but your background is basically more of in the punk type scene, and you're recently the Job Seekers 10-year anniversary. That was the first release
Yeah,
you're on.
yeah, like that's a kind of mad one. Like the punk side of things actually even came a little bit later because the punk stuff came along when I was about 24. And like I'm 34 now, so yeah, bang on, man, fucking 10 years later. But that was the first release. That was the first, I suppose, prior to that, man. Like, and I know we'll touch on this at some point. Myself and Aiden from ASEC there, we were childhood buddies, like since we were kids, and we started a band together, called Kashan. That was one of the names, man. There was about 20 fucking names before that. But I was doing metal, like metalcore stuff with them, very early influenced by Lamb of God, Chimera, and all that kind of stuff, you know. And we almost released an album in our early 20s, and it kind of fell to the wayside. And then I exited being a singer when our band split up. And funny enough, Aiden went on to join ASEC. And then I was still down in Longford, and Aiden was up in Dublin, and he was studying away at the time, I think. And he was doing his own thing up there, and I ended up during the recession moving to Dublin. Knew Colin Kelly for years as well since we were kids, skateboarding and all that as teenagers, went to school and everything. And I was going to Ballyfermot College at the time, the rock school in there. And yeah, Colin texted me one day and he was like, "Man, my bass player's after leaving my band, and I know you used to play bass or you played a bit of guitar or anything like that, and it's a punk band and all this kind of stuff. To me, would you be able to fill in? Would you come down to rehearsals or anything like that? Like it's just one gig. Like I know it's last minute or whatever. I think the gig was in like fucking 3 or 4 days time, and it was in Fivers, you know." And I says, "Right, man, just like send me on the stuff." And he's like, "Oh, we've nothing recorded. Like you just have to come down to the room and just learn it." I was like, "Fucking hell, all right, yeah." I said, "I don't have a bass." And he goes, "I'll get you a bass." So I had a bass. Everyone went into the room, met this guy Simon and another guy called Shane Kendi. Simon Maples and Shane Kendi. And Simon has actually a trash background as well. So he was a trash drummer playing in punk, like
Hmm.
hardcore kind of punk at the time. And I was like, "What's punk?" That was literally to Colin. Like I was like, "What the fuck is punk, man? Like I don't know what it is." And he was joking with me. He's like, "Man, you remember we used to play like Tony Hawk's Pro Skater when we were kids? You remember the soundtrack and that? Do you remember the Sex Pistols? And do you remember this Bad Religion? That's punk." And I was like, "All right, yeah, like, I kind of like that stuff, you know." So he went in, he played me the songs then, and I was like, "Fuck, this is mad, you know, this is a bit of crack." Like, so I went in and learned the songs and the day with him, and went over to his flat in Rathmines then after that. And we just spent days then leading up to the gig then just learned the tracks, got up on stage then and absolutely shitting myself. Just trying to play these in a not too packed Fibbers. Do you know, one of those Thursday night gigs in Fibbers was probably like the lads' girlfriends, the sound man and like the locals in there absolutely fucking breaking it, man, trying to play bass like. And then finished the gig after it then and had a couple of drinks then, and Simon, the drummer, was like, "You have to join the band, man. You're great crack. Like, just stay in the band." I was like, "Man, I know nothing about punk." He says, "Sure, I haven't a clue. I'm a trash drummer playing in a fucking punk band. I haven't a breeze, man. You know, this is just good crack. Just fuck it, man. Just join." Like, so Colin was like, "Do you want to join?" I was like, "All right." So then I continued on then in college, bought my own bass off another guy in there, Gav Byrne, actually. Shout out to Gav. And Gav gave me a P bass. And I just started fucking around on this, and I started to really like playing bass. And I had tried playing bass when I was younger, but when I played it was boring.
Hmm.
That was just the best way to put it. It was boring. And I realized the chemistry from playing with another band, that's what I needed, was to actually play with other musicians and fucking make some noise, and it made it fun. Whereas I played guitar for years before that, like just never in a band, but just fucking around at home, you know. But it was always singing and things like that before. And yeah, man, went on to record that first As Real as It Gets, I think it was called, was this first Job Seekers album. We didn't even do an EP.
Hmm.
Recorded fucking like a 12-track album in one day in true punk fashion. Straight in with Michael Richards and track mix out in Blanche. And you recorded the whole lot then and done a pure DIY and fucking released it then, man. It was mad. And from there, man, that was a complete gateway
Hmm.
into punk then. Do you know? It's pretty cool. Like, you can see the Ramones flag in the background there. Listen, the Ramones of Meshuggah over here, Black Label Society over there, you know? Bit of a dolly mix of musical influences, like. It's pretty cool, you know?
Yeah, the punk scene now, it's very strong in Ireland, but it's not really a scene you would hear about much unless you were involved in it, really, would you? It's very underground.
Agree. Agree 110%, man. I never even fucking knew it existed
Hmm.
until I was in it. And even funnier again, when I kind of exited the punk scene, I never exited, do you know what I mean? I'm not involved musically in it, but I still followed, the bands that I had played with and things like that. But when I kind of moved away from that, if you want to call it, and I'd went on to join other bands and that, and even like we'll say to a later extent, I'd obviously joined the Lee Harveys was the next kind of big band that I joined after that, and I was in that band for 5 years, and that was the band that really like brought me all over the place, traveling and touring, playing big festivals, playing to thousands of people. Do you know what I mean? Starting out from playing to fuck all. Like, I met the Lee Harveys through Job Seekers. We played all them shitty gigs. And I don't want to say they're shitty gigs, you know what I mean?
I
But
know.
just those kind of starting out gigs where you played to fucking nobody. And then you started to gain some momentum, and there was more people and more people, more DIY shows and all that. And you're 100% right, man. If you're not involved in that scene, you wouldn't have a fucking clue it existed, or any of that. It was very underground.
Hmm.
I don't know if you're too familiar, man, with like a lot of the venues in Dublin, but there was one in particular for years for us was Sweeney Mongrels, or Sweeney's on Dame Street in Dublin there, right across from the GPO, or not the GPO, sorry, across from Central Bank.
Hmm. I've never heard of
It
it, to be
was there
honest.
for years. It was just a pub,
Hmm.
and in the basement is where all the punk gigs went on, the ska gigs, reggae,
Hmm.
all that kind of stuff. And then on any given night, when we started kind of getting a little bit better in there, and the promoters, shout out to Peter Jones there from FOAD Music. Peter started really heavily putting on gigs, and that was like our home base, if you wanted to call it.
Hmm.
And we went from playing gigs, we'll say, in the basement there some nights to playing the top floor. And what was cool about that venue was, because it was 3 floors, and because pretty much a lot of the times anyway, we were getting we'll say to get a fee off the bar. So we'll say the more punters that was in there and the more money that was made in the bar, the more money that was given to the promoter, more money that went into the bands. And get drinks tokens and whatever it would
Hmm.
be. And a lot of bands kind of cut their teeth on those nights.
Hmm.
And what was cool about it was, because of the area that it was in, and it's obviously such a heavy footfall, if you want to call it there,
Hmm.
you could get everybody from all over the world. You could get somebody coming over from Brazil that's into punk, and they just stumbled into the gig, because there'd be no cover charge on the
Yeah.
door. Like,
Hmm.
she was just playing away, and there'd be all sorts of fucking people coming in, and like even the band just starting out to open the show could be still playing to about 100 people. Do you know what I mean? Straight
Sure.
off, like maybe it might be their first, second, third fucking gig ever. Like, and man, there were some of the best fucking nights there. Like Thomas House was obviously another spot as well for punk. It's still very well known, and Fibbers as well, Fibbers Basement and that. But yeah, there
And the
was
Crack Club as well.
yeah, exactly,
Crack
man,
Club.
and there was a place obviously renamed now. I think it's called the Wiley Fox now, but it used to be called the Pint.
Right, yeah, yeah.
Um, and that was another spot as well that was really good for metal gigs. And actually, funny now, man, that you were just on about the punk as well. So what had happened, which was the beauty of it all back then too, um, because of the likes of Simon, our drummer in the band there, being in trash and knowing other kind of metalheads and that, we got involved in a lot of crossover nights
Hmm.
where they'd book two punk bands and two metal bands. Punk band would open, then the metal band, punk band, then metal band to headline it.
Mhm.
And that's how I met the likes of Two Tails of Woe, a ton of the other bands. There was bands back then like Cipher. I don't know if you remember Cipher.
Oh, they're back.
Xenocide. Yeah, they're back again, are they?
They're back, yeah, they're
Fucking hell.
back, yeah. Little
Brilliant.
spoiler, he's coming on this.
Oh yeah.
Yeah,
Lovely,
he's
lovely,
coming on
lovely.
this. We'll say no
Oh,
more
fair
from
play
now
to
on,
them.
keep going.
We won't say it. But like Xenocide, man, was in there. They shared a room with
Oh,
us
did the
at one
Murdoch
point.
band.
Yeah, exactly. Like there was a couple other bands now I'm trying to think of just off the top of my head. But I mean half of the metal scene and the punk scene in particular for us anyway, there wasn't many other younger punk bands like ourselves playing in Volt rehearsal studios.
Hmm.
And that's where I met Lar Bowler and Carl from Two Tails of Woe, that incarnation of the band back then, the classic
Hmm.
lineup back then. And Carl, I tell you, like Carl was obviously on with you before there, but that's how I met himself years ago. And we played like one of those crossover nights or something at one point, you know. And yeah, it's just fucking mad, man. Like from moving up to Dublin at 24 and joining that one punk band led me on to meet so many people. Like some of my fucking friends of 10 years now at this stage, you know, lads that I truly respect and all that. Carl as well, and one I know I've mentioned Carl a couple of times there, but like he was a big influence on me, a big help
Hmm.
in the early days there. And with a Shirey now and everything as well, kind of coming into being able to do a track with him as well. We were joking about it the other day. He says, it took me 10 fucking years to get on a track with you. Finally, it's happened. He says, am I good enough now? He goes, am I good enough? He says, you're always fucking good enough. It says, it's just we never cross paths at the right fucking time, like, you know? But yeah, man, it's just mad. It's just, I'm delighted now, you know what I mean? Chuffed with life and chuffed to be a part of a Shirey now as well, you know?
Exactly, and did you ever did we ever part of the whole Galway punk scene? We'll kind of move away from the punk scene now in a second, but the whole Richardson's thing upstairs and Daniel, I can't pronounce his surname, that put on a load of gigs. He was in Only Fumes and Corpses and a few other bands.
I first heard of Only Fumes and Corpses from that band Kishan that myself and Aidan O'Halloran from Asect were in. I remember being in there in Mayo when we were recording that album. We were living in a studio. So what we did was we had rented out this studio from a guy called John Henry, or John of the Dreads, as some people might know him. He's
Mm.
a sound engineer in Temple Bar Music Centre now. But John owned a studio, if I remember correctly, called Short Straw Studios in Mayo, in Swinford in Mayo, if I'm correct. And it was like a granny flat or an annex that was built off the back of, I think, his parents' house at the time. Because you have to bear in mind, like at the time, we were only about 21 or 22, you know, we still all lived at home, like. And he was studying sound, and so was our guitarist Dara at the time. He was studying sound too, so that's how we knew him. But yeah, to get to the point anyway, there we were in the studio and we were living there for a week, but he had loads of punk posters there. And you have to bear in mind, I was very naive back then. I didn't know fuck all about punk or the punk scene, but there was all these photocopied, you know, hand drawn, deadly artwork kind of fucking posters all over the walls. And one in particular was Only Fumes and Corpses. And I remember that just stuck in my fucking head for years because just Only Fools and Horses, like, I
Yeah,
was a massive fan of it, like.
yeah.
But for me personally, my time when I was in Job Seekers, I was in Job Seekers, I think, for all of about a year and a half. So the band obviously is still together, many incarnations since then. Um, But I know the Colin and them were definitely involved because I've definitely seen the band, kind of take off from there and do a lot more gigs after, after I'd left, like, and I fully supported them obviously after I'd left, like,
Mm.
um, but yeah, never got involved in that. Got involved actually with another band years later with Colin, called Turf Boy,
Oh,
which I
you're a
think you
turf
might
boy as
know them.
well.
Man, I was in Everton nearly with Colin. Do you know what I mean? At some point, when they needed a bass player, I was there. Yeah, I done a couple of years in Turf Boy.
All right.
Um, and Ollie from that band again is another one of Ollie Mortimer. He's one of myself and Colin's longtime friends as well from when we were teenagers. And he was in a band I think called the Omega, I think they were called, with a couple other boys from Strokestown.
Jesus, Strokestown,
And
yeah.
yeah, I think I'm thinking of a guy now, and I could be wrong now, but I'm pretty sure that all the boys from out there. There was a guy, Baz Rowland,
Oh, I've heard of him,
there
all
that
right,
comes to
yeah.
mind. And there's another guy, Sean, I think his name was as well. Fuck man, there's a couple of names now that I'd really have to be diving back into my teenage years, but lads I haven't seen in years. And there's another guy, Jesus Christ, man, he'll kill me if I don't say his fucking name. Oh, fucking hell. Burn, anyway. I know the surname has gone out of my fucking head.
Yeah, I know
But
there's a lot of Roscommon lads involved in the punk scene.
Roscommon boys, man,
There was
left, right, and centre.
Cormac Sheehan, the Fulham twins, Donal and Owen.
Yeah,
James was in promotions for a while, and Connor Coakley, he was in Only Fumes and Corpses as well. Like, there was a
yeah.
bunch of lads from Roscommon, all big into the punk scene around that time. They're all the same age. I remember when I
Lads
was in school,
posting
like,
away to get tapes and everything like that,
I remember
back in
when
the
I was in
day.
school, like, I was a few years older than them, and I was playing a guitar and whatnot. And I remember them lads, and I remember fucking hating them. Even though I'm good friends with them now, because I was a
Yeah,
few years older, I was took with all these fucking GAA tractor jockey motherfuckers, and then
man,
all these
same for
lads a
me.
few years younger than me, all in these bands, and I was like, you fucking wankers! Like, well, they're great lads now, but I
Yeah,
remember at the
no,
time I
man,
was like dickheads.
I totally get it. Your man I was trying to think of there now is Dave Byrne. So shout out to you as well, Dave, if you're watching this. I'm gonna fucking tag you in it now because I nearly forgot your fucking name. But yeah, like all these lads, like we ended up doing Turf Boy there, that kind of grunge kind of side of things, and we had good success with that band, and we done a lot of gigs all around. And again, man, the same fucking thing. Like just met loads and loads and loads of different people, and you end up kind of pulling on these contacts years later when you're a bit older, and it pays off to be sound to people,
Oh yeah, oh,
never be a dickhead because it'll come back to you in years to come when you
oh,
need a favor or anything like that. And somebody will say, yeah, I remember him. He was in such a band. He was
mm,
fucking really sound.
mm,
It's never a diva about stuff. I never burned any fucking bridges with anybody. And again, prime example there is look at doing a shirey now with Carl.
mm,
He knew me from all them years ago from just being this fucking young lad playing in Volt. And like we probably may have not even said two words to one another for a couple of years that passed by, but those interactions years ago fucking
mm.
pay off dividends
Oh,
later on. But yeah, man, it's mad. Like went and done that, played bass. I was doing the Lee Harveys and Turf Boy kind of side by side at that point, and then I realized that I much preferred what I was doing in the Lee Harveys at that stage. And I just said to the lads, I think it's time for me to move on and just kind of focus on this because I'm really enjoying this a little bit more,
mm,
than the grunge stuff. Like, and then kind of similar to I think like Job Seekers did a couple of lineup changes there, but I actually think I could be wrong there now. They got another guy in there, in after it now, and he's going to kill me as well because I'm terrible at fucking
Leon,
names, man. Leon, yeah,
Leon.
Mr. fucking Magic Fingers. That's what I call him there. He's
I
an
think
unreal fucking bass
Leon.
player, man.
I think it's Leon and
Ogrifa.
huh?
Yeah.
Leon. I
Leon
can't pronounce it.
Ogrifa, I think
Yeah,
he has his name on Facebook. Yeah.
yeah.
Leon's fantastic fucking bass player.
Of course, there's Colin and there's the other lad. Oh fuck, jeez, what's his
You
name?
have Connor.
Connor
Yeah.
and
Connor Walls, yeah.
yeah, Connor
Another
Walls.
lovely
I
guy.
fucking cause I knew that they have a solid lineup now, and they released a great album there last year, or was it the year before?
Man, Attention, I think it was called.
Mm,
And it's fucking, yeah, it's brilliant. So Colin, man, is amongst one of the most talented, underrated fucking songwriters I know. The guy can turn his hand to fucking anything. Like
mm,
even recently there, I was complimenting him on Instagram, he had got oh fuck, what was it, a banjo lele, I think it is, like a banjo fucking ukulele off his Mrs. Kerry,
Mm-hmm.
and he went and released this, I think, a little 4-track fucking EP.
Oh, I've
And
seen that actually.
anytime
I'd
he
like to check
releases
it
out,
out.
yeah, man, I just went in. I knew on anything he turns his fucking hand to, you
Mm.
know.
He's a lovely
And
lad as well too.
I just fucking bang on, man. He's a real introverted, quiet
Yeah.
fucking dude. Always has been since we were in school, and just a real sound guy. And not just saying that because I'm on camera, but yeah, just fucking always at something.
Mm-hmm.
Like fucking, I remember when we were in Job Seekers and we were DIYing all the fucking logos and whatever it was, and Colin was painting the stuff out, and then he was saying, "Do you know what, man? I'd say I could probably turn my hand to Photoshop, like if I sat down and I put me head into it, you know." So I went off and I was doing whatever it was I was doing in college or something like that then, and then he'd sent on some other little rendition of a logo. And I was like, "Where'd you do that?" He says, "Oh man, I stayed up like 12 hours straight, fucking learned watching YouTube, and I learned how to do this, and this." And then months had passed by, then again, and then he come in with something even fucking better again. I'd left Job Seekers then years later, then had joined Turf Boy. Same fucking thing. Then, man, I'm after coming up with this logo, da, 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 and it was like even a higher standard, do you know? And I was like, fucking hell, man, I wish I could do that. And he's like, you can't. You just have to sit down and look at this video or whatever it was. And I was like, nah, man, I don't have the fucking attention span for that. I'll just bring the stuff to you and you can do it. Like, which I did. He did some stuff for Lee Harvey's couple of years later, man, for CD design or whatever it was. One of the boys wanted like a load of bullet holes or something really cheesy in it, like, and sent it on to Colin, and Colin just whipped it up, man, in a couple of hours. I was like, fair fucks to you. I would have been sitting there now just trying to figure out like Homer pressing the fucking yes in the keyboard, shit. Like, just wouldn't be cut out for it at all. But yeah, fucking the punk scene, man, it brought a lot of opportunities onto me, and I was able to bring that on into other bands then that I done, you know. Like I said, Lee Harvey's playing festivals or anything like that. That geared me up for playing an Asect,
Mm-hmm.
you know.
But we'll move on to ASEC now. But one thing I will say about the punk scene, though, from my experience of it, I've been to plenty of underground punk gigs over the years, and I've always found of the punk scene is very, very fucking family based. Like there really is a
Ah, it's
real,
so welcoming.
yeah, yeah.
I'd agree. I
Like I
remember,
went to I went to a gig one night in Galway with people I didn't really know, and they invited me over.
cool,
Jesus,
yeah.
I was chatting away to everyone, like they were all so fucking sound, like, and then fortunately, so I got talking to some lad, and he pulled up his shirt and he did a Nazi fucking symbol on him, and I was like, oh fuck,
It's
and
always one
he was fucking gone fairly lively, but but apart from
until you
that, it
get a
was a very
boot
good
up the
night.
arse.
Huh?
Yeah, until he got a boot up the arse.
Oh
You'll
yeah,
have that,
everyone
man.
was just
You
like,
have
oh
that
no,
in a lot of
he was
scenes.
French or something. He kind of got
He was
found,
just
and
a blow in.
yeah, and it was just like, oh no.
Good luck,
Good
lads.
luck,
Yeah.
lads. But that. Sorry, go back to what you were saying.
No, you're bang on, man, about that. I remember when, because as I said, the first kind of entry into doing live music in Dublin, like when I moved up, was with Job Seekers. And like to touch on something you said before about the scene, like if you didn't know about it, you know, you wouldn't know it existed.
Mhm.
And when you're involved in that scene, and I remember at the start we got labeled, and it's ironic now that I've fucking shaved head, I've lost all my hair since then, but I used to shave my head all the time
Hmm.
back then, and we got labeled by some other band as a proper fucking,
Yeah.
you know, fucking skinhead band,
Hmm.
and this thing stuck with us for ages at the beginning, and we didn't understand why we couldn't get gigs. And then we
Yeah.
had found out then from one of the main promoters saying, we were told that you were a bunch of fucking far right boys, and that's why we weren't booking you for gigs. And we were like,
I wouldn't
we're
go down
not,
on the punk scene, man.
not at all, not even in the fucking slightest, like, do you know what I mean? And had said our piece or whatever it was, and the rumor got fucking squashed. And
Hmm.
then we got booked then for loads of gigs, you know.
Hmm.
But the point I'm making there was you don't know about any of that, so to speak, until you're in that scene,
Yeah.
and then you don't know about like certain fucking. I remember wearing a pair of Doc Martens or something like that with like fucking green laces or something.
Jesus.
and somebody turn around and being like, "You can't do that. That's
Oh.
fucking, this is affiliated with whatever, and you can't walk around town with your fucking braces on your fucking, your, oh, for fuck's, you can't walk around town with your braces and your docks on, and if you have your braces down right at that, that means you're blood in, blood out, all this type."
Yeah,
You're
yeah.
like, who the fuck made these rules up? Like, I'm wearing it like that because I thought it was cool. No, you can't do that, man. And don't lace your docks this way or whatever. Do you know what? Even better yet, don't even wear docks.
Mhm.
So I was just
That's
like,
it.
right, lads, I'm not fucking shaving my head anymore. I'm gonna get a mohawk. And that's what I did, man. I had a mohawk, like a fucking red mohawk or something for years. I used to be messing with Colin going, man, is that colour all right now? Does that conform to the fucking code of the punks? Do you know what I mean? Like, there's all these fucking rules, you know? And yeah, it was just really funny. And again, you wouldn't have a fucking breeze
Mhm.
until you're in that scene, do you know what I mean?
Kind of
But
ironic. Music is based around anarchy of so many fucking rules, isn't it?
but you have to conform. Oh, that was the joke.
Yeah.
That was the joke. Like, and our drummer Simon at the time used to love winding everybody up. Like, he would play on that, you know, and wind people up just to wind them up, you know. But like what you said about the punk scene, I remember loads of people saying that to me, like in the punk scene, going, the difference between punks and the metalheads is, you know, if you were at a gig and your guitar broke at the punk gig, the fucking punk guys there would all be falling over one another to give you their guitar, whereas at a metal gig, the metal boys are just too, you know, in love with their instruments. They don't give a fuck. And like I get it from both sides, but it's like if I paid $1,000 for a fucking, you know, a nice guitar or bass renting at that, and then some crusty lad who I seen was beating the fucking shite out of his bass 10 minutes before it and he broke it. He was like, does anyone have a bass? I don't know if I'd be fucking giving him it. You know what I mean? It was just that kind of thing. Like, you have to respect that, you know what I mean? But yeah, like that all got quashed. I think the more crossover gigs that were done, I think that kind of, I don't know, mentality kind of got brushed under the fucking carpet, man. You know, like it's not that fucking way. Like,
Yeah.
I've played countless fucking metal gigs right like that, and string has broke or fucking mic has gone or whatever the fuck would be, cymbals fucking, you know, whatever, fucking kick pedal went, and the drummers are all falling over one
Yeah.
another. So it's a misconception or something like that,
It
you
is.
know, the scene. But you know, you're bang on about the punk scene. You could just land yourself in the middle of anywhere and they'll chat away to you. I don't want to fucking shit on metal or anything like that. That people aren't like that in the metal scene.
Yeah.
There's loads of people, but I would 100% agree with you. I've landed at gigs where I didn't even know the band.
Mhm.
I played festivals for punk and just walked into bands that I never fucking heard of, and somebody would tap you on the shoulder and say, "Oh, I like that patch you have in your jacket," or, you know, whatever it is, and you talk, and turns out you have an Irish accent or whatever. They're like, "Oh, where are you from?" You know, and
Mm.
bum 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 bum, and you're just chatting away then for the rest of the night, and you made a
Mhm.
new fucking mate. Like,
Yeah.
it's cool. Like, and again, that happens in metal. Don't get me wrong. You
Oh,
know.
it does. It does. Like, especially, well, we're going to touch on ASEC now, especially at Bloodstock. I found, I find Bloodstock to be just like I've done every festival you can possibly think of over the years, and
Yeah.
Bloodstock is just so welcoming. Like, the people there are so fucking nice, man. You could just end up randomly walking around looking for your tent, and then you could end up sitting
Yeah.
there for a second, and next thing you're there, and 2 hours later, and you're like, oh fuck, I have to find my tent now. Shit.
I fucking know, man. There's a funny thing actually there, even to move into Bloodstock and being there with ASECT. I remember when we were going around, myself and Luke and that were, well, it was all of us really, man. But we were going around. I think you might remember we had these cups
Yeah,
with
yeah.
the ASIC, the hand on it
I have
and
one
that.
downstairs.
No way, man,
Yeah,
brilliant.
brought one home.
And fucking shout out to Luke and Suneva, Jesus, Karen, and I think Willow as well. They spent fucking hours, man, putting all these stickers onto them, you know, back out in Wicklow, like, to promote it with the stage time and everything on it. But we were going around handing out fucking hundreds of these cups,
Oh, you got
and
loads of them,
we,
man. They're all over the fucking
but
site, man.
I swear to God, like, and like, we made sure we cleared it with them before we went over. Like, we checked in with ah, jeez, he's going to kill me as well
Simon
again
Hall.
for fucking Simon Hall, man. Yeah, and I remember, this is a funny thing, I ended up calling him fucking Simon Hill when it was on stage. It was like, shout out to Simon Hill. But
Oh,
I'm fucking sure. I remember we watched that back, and the lads were like, it was fucking Simon Hall, you take. But I was like, oh shit, I was fucking giving it all up for Oren from fucking Overdrive and everything, and Simon fucking Hill. Like, oh shit, fucking idiot. But
I was
no
Sunday
man,
man. You were fucking probably wrecked by
I
that
was
stage.
buzzing. I was buzzing, man. That's all that was. And you've seen it a couple of times throughout this here now. Names are not my forte, like.
Yeah,
But yeah, man, just to get back to it, like you were saying about meeting people and you're around your tent, we were going around handing out all these cups, and like we kind of got well known I think we were over from Thursday till Sunday. So we done a lot of the heavy promo with all these cups from the second we landed in, once we got our tents set up. Actually, Willow and Luke had the tent set up. Myself, Dave, and Ado had landed in then after, threw our gear in and got promoting. So we went off, and we were handing around all the cups and fucking doing our thing. And people are really sound. They're like, oh, Deadly, I needed a cup. Oh, that's a Deadly design. Yeah, yeah, I'll come and see you. And so on and so forth. But we came up to some tents, some of the other lads were a little bit more outgoing
Hmm.
than myself. Like, I won't say I'm introverted. I'd be an ambivert. I can be outgoing when I want to be. And then at times then I can be very within myself and quiet, and I just do my own thing. But on that day, like I was kind of dwindling between the two. And Willow there, our bass player at the time, well, when I was in the band,
Hmm.
had took a heap of the cups and says, right, I'm going off over here. And he was going into all these tents and that, gift of the gab, man, fair fuck some like. And Luke was the same. Aiden was there. Aiden's very introverted and very quiet. So
Hmm.
he was just like, do you want a cup? They said no. He just keep to himself. Like, that's just Aiden's personality. Like, Dave hadn't landed down with us just yet at that stage, actually, when I think of it. I think he was staying in like a Holiday Inn or something like that nearby. So he was meeting up with us. So anyways, went over and I got a couple of cups and went over to this tent. And for fuck's sake, right? So I handed in the cups right at that. And they're like, oh, thanks, guys. Yeah, whatever. There's this lady there. And she was like, and here, we're doing a bit of a show later on at 8 o'clock or anything like that if you want to come around. And I said, oh, what sort of show? She's like, that's a sex show. Like, you guys can come around and, we're putting it on there 8 o'clock sharp or anything like this. And it was just to go back to what you were saying, come around to fucking tents and people being really fucking friendly or anything like that. And then the lads are all standing there going, I don't think we'd be going back there now. It's just this, like, everybody got really shy and quiet or anything like that. It was like, yeah, no, we're not going there. We went off
Awkward.
then, and it just felt like really like caught us out of left field. Do you know what I mean? Yeah, it's a sex show or anything like that. I'm like, it's fucking off we went then, handing out the cups or whatever. And I think it was now, and don't hold me to it, but we're coming back out of whatever campsite it was anyway, and we handed off the rest of those cups. We were planning to just get rid of whatever we had there, at that batch, and dumping the stuff then in the boxes, and then bumped into 10 ton slug then,
Hmm.
and the boys were flogging merch on the sly. Had
Yeah,
brought a picnic table or whatever it was, just set up a sign
yeah.
just up on one of the fucking random things, and like, here's the merch. I think it was, do you know what it was? They got away with it because I think it was a collection point, they said,
Hmm.
because it was for people who pre-ordered.
Yeah.
But then they were able to flog out a couple of t-shirts on the sly as
Yeah,
well. Do you know what
because
I mean?
the
That a few there
Woodstock charges
I,
a fairly fucking whopper fee on the t-shirts. Like,
to display.
yeah,
Same, yeah, that's what happened with us
standard,
as
like,
well. But like, in fairness, now we did sell quite a bit of merch, which was deadly. And props to Luke as well, man. I know we were kind of chatting about ASIC a little bit before the call here, but like, Luke does all the graphic design in the band, so like his stuff was fucking flawless. Like, before I was ever even in the band, man, I was a fan of the band anyway,
mm,
and I was buying their merch because it was fucking deadly looking, So shout out to him, man, on it. The same with the design that was on the cups and everything. It was fucking deadly.
mm-hmm.
Um, but yeah, funny story actually even there as well. I'll tell you a golden one there. We had planned the entire fucking time, man. There was this one song, and I'm trying to even think of what the song was at the time. It was Blind Faith, I think it was.
Mm.
Which Blind Faith was
The
kind of
single.
anti-Catholic church and anti-fucking religion, really. But mainly aimed towards the Catholic Church and the mother and baby homes and so
Mm.
on and so forth. And we had planned the whole fucking campaign around was like join the sect, as you've probably seen, and
Yeah.
everything like that. And I had one fucking job, man, was to say to the crowd, about the cups that we had painstakingly fucking, handed out the entire fucking weekend and that, and then that the girls and the lads had fucking put all the stickers on. It was like, it was meant to go to the crowd here. If you have a cup out there, put it in the air for a photo fucking op or whatever. And I just dropped the ball because the adrenaline was like, I was like, I'm a fucking bloodstock and I'll stand on stage and like at a cup. I was probably even drinking out of one of the fucking cups, man. It couldn't be more obvious. It was in front of me. And then we were done and we're after coming down after it or whatever. And we're in the fucking tent and we're like, Jesus, man, that was deadly. We're after putting all the gear away and at that. And then I was like, lads, I don't think I did the fucking thing with the cups around like that. They were like, no, you didn't. Oh, fuck, lads. Sorry about that. Fuck you anyway. They're like, it took us fucking ages to put all them stickers and everything on the fucking cups. It's like, yeah, you had one job. You had one fucking job. I was like, I'm sorry. I'm sorry, lads. Oh, for fuck's sake. Just looking back at it, man, it was so funny. I was like, for you fucking idiot. Oh, look, what can you do, man?
Exactly, and something a lot of people wouldn't know is that the fact that Shane Kiernan, the original vocalist for ASEC, you actually taught him how to fucking do the scream vocals for the band originally.
Pretty much, man. Like, I knew Shane since he was a kid.
Yeah.
So what had happened was Shane's brother, Danny Kiernan, another fucking amazing musician as well, amazing guitar player. Seth and Danny went to school together, and Danny basically was in one of the, I won't say like a first band, but when you're in fucking school, if you play music or anything like that, like you end up just doing shitty little bands and fucking around with your friends and playing whatever. And I was massive. I was mad into fucking Corn,
Mm.
and Danny was too. And Danny had a 7-string Ibanez, which was unheard of.
Yeah.
Rural fucking Longford. And he had the 7-string Ibanez, and he had a 5-string ESP LTD bass, something like H50 or something, whatever it was. Anyway, F50. And he lived out in Auchnacliff, and he had a little garage, or whatever, out there, and he invited us out, to go jamming. So go out there anyway, and I knew nothing about his brother. I knew nothing about anything. I just knew Danny from fucking secondary school in the same year, big into metal, and that was that. So we went out to the house then, and there was this young little redhead lad, fucking shy as fuck, in the house, keeping an eye on us and watching us. And he had a little fucking skater hat on him, the hair flicking out the bottom of it or whatever it was. And I was into skateboarding. Colin Kelly actually was in that first band as well.
Mm.
Another guy called Bernard Taff, I think it was.
Oh,
And we just
Benny
fucked
Taff.
around.
Yeah, I know
Benny,
him.
yeah.
Oh, I know him. Yeah, I know
Benny's actually a distant cousin of mine.
Oh, really? Yeah,
And
Graham and
yeah,
Tyrone as well. Yeah.
Tyrone, yeah.
Yeah,
So
that's good
Tyrone,
lads.
yeah. I ended up discovering through again going to school. Went to primary school with who was it saying? Yeah, with Benny Taff.
Hmm.
Because I know you call him Benny, I call him Bernard.
Hmm.
But
I just know
yeah,
it was Benny like that.
yeah, he's Benny on Facebook and everything. But yeah, Benny was in the first kind of band, if you want to call it, incarnation of some sort of fucking messing around playing with your friends, and he played drums. He was mad into Slipknot and that.
Hmm.
And he was actually one of the first guys as well. He gave us a tape back when people used to give mixtapes of like Marilyn Manson, Slipknot, and all this. And I hadn't a clue. You wouldn't even know who the bands were. There was nothing written on it.
Yeah.
But without going too far down fucking memory lane, there, we ended up all jamming together. And this young lad was there. And I was like, "Who's your man?" And I was like, "Oh, that's my little brother Shane." And then I was in there then fucking around and trying to fucking scream and trying to find my voice, like about 14, maybe even a little bit younger, fucking just dicking around like. And he was there, and I remember I'll never forget it, he had a BC Rich Warlock, but like fairly high end model, Floyd Rose, the whole shebang in it or whatever like that, left-handed of course because he's a lefty. And he was showing me this guitar, and he was showing around like just like your mate's little brother. Oh, this is my bedroom, and this is that, and the other. Do you know what I mean? Fucking showing off your stuff like that was there as you would do when you're a kid. Like, fast forward a little bit, then I went into my very first band, and playing all new metal kind of stuff, Deftones and all this, and I started to learn how to scream. To kind of get to dive even further into that, I was just playing guitar and I was learning how to play guitar with one of my other friends, Mark Hughes. And we were fucking around the kitchen in my mum's house and we skateboarded together as everybody did at the time. And I didn't see Mark for maybe, it was a week or two. We didn't even have mobile phones then, man.
Mm.
Mark showed up one day and he goes, man, I'm after joining this band. This guy called Paul Conboy, this other guy called Ollie McKenna. And your man has a shed and he has this and can bring the drums out. My mom's going to go out. You should come out as well. So I was like, all right. Went out to this gaff. The guys had these massive, to me at the time, massive amps. Marshall 100-watt DFX fucking amps, you know, and I had my pissy little 10-watt
Yeah.
fucking yoke, you know, came in. I was dicking around this, couldn't even hear fucking thing I was playing, and Mark was beating the shite out of the drums. And the boys were there and like, can you sing? And I was like, no. And they're like, well, we have a mic there or anything like that. Like, do you want to try and sing a song? I was like, I can kind of sing. I knew I could sing, but I never sang in front of anybody, do you know? And I'll never forget it, man. You're going to laugh at me now, and everybody watching this is going to laugh at it too. And they were like, do you know Between Angels and Insects by Papa Roach? And I was like, I do, which was a big fucking
Yeah.
song at the time. It says here, Paul handed me this mic and fucking confidently just turned up the PA, fucking shitting myself, man. You know, this fucking thing in front of me or anything like that. 1 2 1 2 into it or whatever. And boy started the song and I knew it backwards. Do you know what I mean? The song backwards because it was everywhere at the time. Went in and sang this song, and then knock came on the door of the little jam room. It was Paul's dad's. Paul's dad was a well-known DJ in Longford, and he'd done loads of DJing all over the world as well as that. But he knocked on the door and he says, "Who was that singing?" I thought I was in trouble. Do you know that instant fucking introverted kind of 15-year-old boy or whatever it was? And I was like, it was me. And he goes, Paul, come here. I thought, oh, fuck, now I'm in trouble. Like, I'm after doing something wrong. I'm after breaking something or whatever. And Paul goes out there and he goes, Ollie, come here as well. So Paul and Ollie were standing outside the door. Metal door closes over, and myself and Mark are chatting away. And I could kind of hear mumblings anyway, the father out there. And then he came in then, and the boys were like, do you want to join our band? So the father had turned around and basically had said, your man's really good at singing, and if you want to do something, you need to get him in. And had basically told Paul, you can't sing, so just forget about it. You need to get him in singing. And that was it then. And that kind of started the gateway into singing and doing shitty little gigs, man, in local pubs. To segue back into what I was saying, that little boy that was in the gaff, his brother, obviously, Danny, was our friend, and we were all in school. So he started watching us then, screaming, and watching me screaming and playing little gigs and doing whatever it was. And then it kind of set aside, how do you do this? How do you do whatever it was? And then he come down and he was hanging around me. Danny kind of moved away, and Danny had kind of other friends right like that. And Shane kind of started to become my friend. He was a couple of years younger than me. And we just skateboarded together all the time. And then he started moving into his own band. And what happened was he actually turned out to be a really, really talented guitar player. So he picked up, I don't know whether himself and Danny had gotten lessons or Danny was showing him or something like that. But Shane got like really fucking good on guitar really fast. And then he had asked me then loads of times in his early bands, will you sing in my band? You sing in my band. And I'd come in and I'd sing. And I'd say, man, you could fucking do it. Like, do you know, and I'd see him fucking around playing guitar and singing or whatever, trying to sing. And I'd say, this is how you do it, man. This is how you make that sound. You know, in my rough kind of estimate of how to do it, you know, to explain it to somebody, I didn't know the mechanics of it. Fast forward about a year, I was off doing my own thing in my own band. And then Shane was like, hey man, my band Chaotic are playing this gig in the Temperance Hall, this local parochial hall that everybody played gigs in back then. And then up he went then, and he was playing fucking Davidian by Machine Head. And he's up there playing the guitar and singing it then. And he was coming up, man, you showed me how to do whatever it is, you showed me this, and I learned how to do whatever. And fast forward then on to that then years later, then when ASEC never had a singer or anything like that, and I actually auditioned for ASEC years ago. I think I told you this, or maybe nobody else knows it. I auditioned for ASEC in the very early days and I got in, but I still worked in Longford, and ASEC religiously rehearsed every Sunday, but my work days were Saturday and Sunday. So what happened is I kind of got in. I couldn't commit to it. The guys kind of weren't happy about that. Look, I wouldn't be able to commit to it or anything like that, and they would need to go and seek a singer that I could actually commit to being in the band.
Of course.
And they had all this back catalogue of material. Aidan had been in the band with me for several years, so that's why he had asked me to audition. He kind of put me forward, at that stage. That was years ago, man. That must be fucking
It's a good while now.
10 odd years ago, like. And yeah, what happened then was they went months without a singer. I'd lost my job. I'd asked Aidan about hey man, like I'm free, to join your band if you want me to. And then he had said that, well, we kind of decided, we kind of had second thoughts and that maybe that you weren't a good fit for the band. And I was kind of a little bit disheartened at the time, but I said, all right, fuck it, you know what I mean? Whatever, like. And bit of time went by, and then I was just chatting to Aidan one day, and I was like, what about Kieran? And that's what it was then. And he was like, do you think? And but he lives in Longford. Like, I don't know if he's working or he's doing anything. Maybe ask him. And then they went and fucking asked him, and then he joined. And it was mad, like, And it's kind of mad then that all them years later, then that I ended up fucking joining. It kind of felt like the right fit, you know what I mean? And look, we know how it turned out. Obviously, I stayed in the band and we went and played Bloodstock, and it's neither here nor there, you know what I mean? Like, fucking, we had a bit of a falling out, and it's all water under the bridge now. But it was just, I've said it, and myself and Aidan had said it recently, and I said it to you before, and I've said it publicly as well. It was the fucking right band, but the wrong time. There was too much stuff going on.
Yeah.
There was too much fucking shite. Do you know what I mean? Going on for me, and maybe there was clashes of certain things that you will have in every band, but ultimately, I think it's for the better. Do you know what I mean? That I moved on, and we're all on good terms. Aidan's getting married soon. Hopefully, see the boys at Ado's wedding and everything like that, and I'm sure we'll have a fucking pint and we'll be all good, But yeah, it's deadly in that regard, It's kind of small world kind of thing, It's Kieran fucking joining in and everything like that. It's just
All
it's
just
gas.
the flow
Just
and the story. It's like a
flawed,
story,
man.
like a
Yeah,
Lord of the Rings type thing. Everyone kind of comes back into the story somewhere. Like
small. Like it's such a small scene and such a small country. Do you know what I mean? There's so many just intertwining little things. Everything links together,
And I was talking to someone there recently that actually knows Shane. I fucking thought Shane was fucking cool. I had a great time for Shane. But I found out that he's actually doing really well for himself now. He's got a missus and he lives in Scotland and he just
Yeah.
jumps off fucking cliffs into water and shit. He's still mental, but he's kind of he's got the right way of kind of mental now. He was on a bit of a bad patch there around that time, 2014.
I think as well, yeah. I think it was just kind of those things of just everybody was living life to excess back then, man. I don't know 100% the side of why Shane had maybe walked away from the band, or perhaps he was, I don't know whether he was given marching orders or anything like that. Genuinely, hand on heart, don't fucking know. But I do know that at that time it was just like piss head central in Dublin for every band, and it impacted many bands. Either people are on the powder or pills or drink or whatever it was going on in the fucking scene. But it was the demise of many a band were just fucking living life to excess, and while some were fucking ramping up, other people were cooling down. And it was just that kind of clash of things, that party kind of side just fucking didn't fly maybe with some bands,
Yeah, I know. I
But
won't say
I
names
think,
now, but I know a few bands. I won't say bands who they are, but I know a lot of bands have got rid of members from that era that were that were still doing what they were doing maybe back those days, and they were just like, no, we have to cut ties now because that's good. We can't keep
it's
fucking.
impacting the fucking moving forward or the next step or
Exactly.
whatever it will be,
Exactly.
Yeah, for sure. I think actually even man with with Shane, I think even Shane might even have a child now. I'm not
I don't
100%
know.
sure.
But
Since I left ASEC, two of the boys have had kids,
yeah.
So it's fucking mad, People are we're growing up. Don't want to grow up, But yeah, definitely growing up and people getting married and all, it's fucking mad, like
Yeah, that's crazy.
becoming.
He was in A, but he didn't really leave the music business as such. He left ASEC and then he was in Atios, the band based in Mullingar for a while.
Yeah, I do vaguely remember that at some point. Actually,
They're
man, even
back again
speaking,
now. They've got your man Hick on vocals now, but no, that he's just, it's good to see that I'm happy to hear he's doing well because I really like Shane. You know, he was just, I don't
He's
want
a
to,
fucking
he just kind of got caught up in a lot of stuff, like, you know, but he was just such
yeah,
a happy fucking person, like, you know.
yeah.
You know, everyone loves
I
Shane, but probably to his demise too in some ways, you know.
Yeah, because like I mean, in the later years of ASEC for himself, or anything like that, I probably wouldn't have seen Shane for many years. You know what I mean? I kind of had floated around. I was heavily involved in the punk scene at that stage, and I think most of the gigs that I would have attended around then were probably just punk gigs. You
Mhm.
know,
Yeah.
and if I was in Fibbers and there was another metal band or that playing downstairs,
Mhm.
and there were mates of mine or anything like that, if I could get in, I'd stick the head in, like you know.
Mhm.
But I kind of floated out of that kind of scene, do you know what I mean? And I only became involved in the metal scene if, like what I was mentioning before, crossover nights kind of came along, do you know?
Mhm.
Um, I remember like there was that band Crossfire,
Mhm.
and there was another band that dominated, I think, like that. We always
Yeah.
end up crossing paths before in some bands that I was in. So when I was playing in Turf Boy and the Lee Harveys, um, a lot of the times those gigs would cross over, you know, or I'd end up playing with Turf Boy and Dan Flynn, for instance. Shout out to Dan as well.
Legend.
Dan was doing the fucking Carnage nights,
Mhm.
you know, and the Carnage nights could be anything. It'd be a dolly mix of whatever bands were available or whatever Dan felt so fit, you know
Whatever
what I
you
mean?
get sometimes.
Sometimes, man, yeah, you know. And Jesus, they were the fucking glory days, like for some gigs.
Mhm.
Some nights it could have been dead, and some nights, man, were absolutely fucking jammed to the rafters. Like you have to commend Dan as well. Do you know, I think Machine Head had come in and
Mhm.
played a fucking Carnage night one night.
Yeah,
Do you know?
play downstairs. Yeah, the
Do you know what I'm
agriculture
saying to you?
it was the agriculture EP launch that was happening down there.
Agriculture, yeah, yeah. I remember,
Next
I
thing,
remember fucking
fucking Rob and the boys landed in, and they just fucking got the agriculture boys gear and played a fucking set. Like,
that was it, yeah. Because I think now correct me if I'm wrong. Does it the singer of that band was Lee?
yeah,
And
yeah.
I think Lee went on. He's doing Cork Street Posse now as his other
Uh,
band there, and
he's more into trap now. Is more his thing now.
that is yeah, man. Because
He's gone away from
Timmy,
the heavy stuff altogether. Now he's more kind of. He's a great singer though, so it kind of suits him.
man, fucking phenomenal.
Yeah.
Because I knew
I
agriculture
think
for
he kind of. I think
years.
Lee is the kind of character that doesn't play well with the other kids either. You know, no disrespect to him, but
He marches to the beat of his own drum, man. Well, like with Lee, and Smiley, the other guy that's in Cork Street Posse, he's the other singer that's in it. Like he does rapping and that in it to kind of tie into what I'm doing now at the moment. I'm in Rest of Nation now as a
yeah,
full member since I left ASEC. So once I had left ASEC, I was given the opportunity to kind of join as a full-time member with Rest of, and I was always a collaborator with Rest of for the guts of about 3 years.
hmm
I first done a song with them. Coma was the first song I'd done with them, and I wrote that back in about 2017, man, maybe even 2018. 2017, I'm thinking off the top of my
that's
head.
funny because that's
Uh,
actually the song I've lined up to play.
oh, amazing, right? Fuck's
Yeah.
sake. Well, that tune we actually discovered it. I'll give you a really funny backstory there. So, as you know, I'm originally from Longford, and I try and visit when I can and visit my mum down there and some family down there too. But when I was recently down there, I was clearing out the room. So we're converting. My mum's always been joking about it, man, for years. The bedroom down there is like a fucking shrine to my youth. It was never changed from when I moved out. And I was saying it to her for years. It was like, you need to just gut this fucking room, like, and give yourself a spare room, a proper spare room, like, because you know every house has that stuff room
hmm
where you just feck everything into, like. And I was just saying that, like, yeah, like it's cool coming home and my stuff is here and like that, but like, I'm grown up, I've moved out, and there's some stuff here I could obviously fucking sell on and do whatever, you know. But I came across, man, fucking the point I was going to make there. What was I saying? Jesus Christ, now it's gone off the top of my fucking head. I came across my old laptop. There was a really, really old laptop in a locker. It was my very first laptop, and opened it up and fucking I had reset it or something at some point or whatever like that. But when I went to Longford, and it was definitely 2017 now, I went down with my interface and a mic, and I was going down because of the flat I was living in at the time. I couldn't record demos. I was going down to visit Longford that weekend, and I had my recording gear, and I says, right, Chris Cahill, who's in Rest of Nation there that I went to college with. Chris had put this track towards or forward to me, to basically audition, to try and get a song. He says, I've been trying to write a song for you for years to get you involved in the band, because the band was together for years. And he was like, can you try this out and write something for it and see, and I'll pitch it to the guys. So I was like, yeah, cool. So he gave me this demo anyway. And I opened this fucking laptop and I was like, fuck yeah, I wonder what's on this laptop. If any photos or anything like that. And just on the front page there was Coma of Lies. That was the original working title. And I was like, fucking hell. So I went, double clicked on this bad boy and went in this real raw as fuck demo. And I was like, Jesus Christ, it didn't actually change all that much. It just refined it a bit more, So I sent it on to the lads and I was like, fuck lads, I wonder when that is. And Bondi, the other singer that's in the band as well, he joined full time last year, and John as well. At my head, John goes by. And he says, check the properties on the file, right click it, check properties and see when was it created. And it was like 28th of July, 2017. And I was like, what the fuck, Proper nostalgia trip. And then John in the band is a great storyteller as well. He's fucking amazing, man. You just sit around there just looking at him, telling you a story, around a campfire or something. But he was like, man, I was living in Australia at that stage. I was collaborating from Australia with the band, because the band never had any set singers. It was literally their premise, or whatever you want to put it, from the start was, we want to be as open as possible and collaborate with as many vocalists. So like in the early days of Rest of Nation, like there was rappers, there was everybody in it. Do you know what I mean? There was all sorts of mad shit. Like it's a proper circus. And the whole thing that they wanted to do this year was to try and, I don't know, refine it a bit more and put a face to the band, and basically say Rest of Nation is all of these guys, And so when we play gigs or anything, we would often be at the mercy of who was available that night. So you might see me on stage all night, and then the next gig is going along and I'm not available, and there's this other guy, and they're like, who the fuck is even in this band? Like, who's the fucking singer? And that's why we were trying to move away from it. So we got asked on permanently, and we've an album now in the pipeline, and we're releasing now a single very soon as well. So yeah, watch out for that, everyone. So we've been working hard. We haven't been lazy during this pandemic, I can tell you that much. Every lockdown that lifted, we were in the studio. As soon as the fucking restrictions lifted, got on to Mick in track mix, and it was like, what have you available? And he's like, you want to book fast, because they're going. Everybody's trying to get their shit done, So yeah, man, we've Whopper album in the pipeline now, so I'm really excited about it. It's heavy. It's got everything in it, like everything for everyone, in it for sure. I'm able to use all my vocal styles this time around. It's not just one, so yeah, it's going to be cool, man. It's going to be really cool.
Deadly. We'll just play the song now before we move on. But I will say before I just play the song, it's kind of a great precursor for the whole All Iron Metal project. Like when the Rest of Nation has kind of got you used to collaborating before this was a thing. Like
exactly, it's second nature, man.
And you originally started the All Ireland Metal project as such last year. It was starting to get wheels in motion, and of course the inevitable happened. But
that's kind of it. Like, to really touch on that quickly there, I suppose, like that was the first incarnation, maybe within Dublin anyway. It was something that I literally put out around January of 2020, and I says, hey, is anybody interested in doing a Roadrunner United type project? It'd be fucking deadly to get people together and blah blah blah. And what happened was Dara, who is taking a Shirey now to the next level, big fucking props to Dara. I don't want to take all the credit and be like, yeah, I fucking did this and fuck Dara, or something like that. It's not that at all. But it was basically like, I'd put it out there. Dara was one of the guys that was involved in it there. Carl and Jason Christie from Words That Burn. There was fucking, I'm sorry if I'm missing people there, but there was fucking shitloads that are involved in it now who were there. Veronica from Neon Empire was in there. Steve Cannon. that I've collaborated with, he was in it, you know. We had even, who else now? Thomas from Black Shuck. People that I had kind of met along the way from doing the Metal to the Masses and everything were in it, you know. And my failing in that, if you want to put it, was one, the pandemic hit for fucking sure. But on an organizational side of it, I just thought putting a bunch of musicians together that people would just naturally be like, let's make music together. And it's not the case. And what
You have to
Dara did
fucking
this year was he organized it. Now, he
spreadsheets.
had the benefit though as well. The spreadsheet, like the spreadsheets would the fucking be all, the end all, man. I'm going to say that straight up. Fair fucks to him and the organizational skills of it, right? But the other side of it too was, I think at the time, people didn't realize how important music was to them.
Yeah,
They were
exactly.
in their own designated bands. And when that situation was taken away from people and you're starved of playing a gig, you're starved of being around your friends and your bands and whatever it was, when 2020 was kind of over and done with and they came into the new year, I think it was you, Phil, that threw up the post on
Yeah,
the
yeah.
Burning
Well,
Metal page. And then that kind of sparked it then for Dara. And like Dara obviously had already been in the other group there. And he said, fuck it, you know, and he took the initiative and says, here, I'm going to fucking do this or whatever it is, you know, maybe do a charity album or whatever it was. And then lots of the guys then that were in the group that I was in started kind of jumping on that then. And I was like, fuck, man, this is kind of taking off here. So I went into the group then that I had, you know, had just been sitting kind of dormant really. And actually a good point there was as well, I just fucked off after I left ASEC or anything like that. I took a social media blackout and just deleted everything. So I actually wasn't admin of that group anymore. And I had to ask Jason Christie from Words That Burn to add me back in to say, here, lads, something's kicking off over here on this metal page. I think it was like Irish metal or something like that. And basically had said, lads, this is kicking off over here. And like, I think you should fucking get involved. Like, you were all eager to do it last year. So how about now? And then people are like, sound for the heads up. Dara gave it a thumbs up on his end as well. And Jesus, man, it just fucking blew up. But I think another big thing as well, and I'll let you play the track now in a sec, is I think a lot of people learned new skills over the last year. What I noticed from when I set up the Rift City, that was just like a working title, you know, for the group. But a lot of people didn't know how to home record.
No.
So they were relying on essentially creating another band on top of the band that they were already in. And people are like, oh, man, I'm already in fucking 2 or 3 bands, or I'm in a band already. I don't want to be dedicating another day of the week to rehearsing with this band to write material, do you know? So then obviously over the year then where people are learning how to maybe drum program, they were getting into plugins. You've probably seen it yourself, man, like audio interfaces and fucking speakers and all sorts of stuff became really cheap because they were trying to promote it, you know, Toman and Music Store and all this. What is it? The other one is something like fucking Gear for All or whatever it is. Like they were all like doing mad promos, and I even got in on it. I actually got myself, I upgraded some of my gear, and yeah, I was doing a few little bits on the back, the kind of backside of it, doing demos with Restive, and collaborated with a guy in the States. Shout out to David Fjorvig. I done that song Catharsis with him last year, just because I could.
Oh,
You
yeah, I
know.
remember that actually. Yeah, I forgot about that.
And then yeah, man, and then it was just when that thing came along with Dara then, and it really fucking took off. I was like happy days. Then Dara asked me to be an admin then of the group or be a team captain or you know have some sort of thing. And like I hope that he didn't feel guilty, like he thought, oh geez, I robbed his idea or something like that. Like he didn't rob my fucking idea. He took something that had died a death in fucking 2020 because of COVID and whatever.
Yeah.
And fucking a shirey like Carl came up with that, which is Resurrection and Irish, like perfect fucking title for it. Resurrected the project, and now look at all these like 120 plus musicians involved in it, man. I started off only wanting to do 2 tracks. Now I'm fucking involved in 6 of them. Do you know what I mean? Like it dwindled. It went from me being involved in 2. One project ended up being deprecated because one of the lead guys just couldn't commit anymore, which look, shit happens. I ended up then falling away from that one. I focused on the one that I was in with Tom from Black Shuck, Veronica from Neon Empire, Steve Cannon from This Place Hell, and Simon Cochran. He's from a band. What's it? Geez, I'm trying to think.
Black Moon Neon.
Black Moon, and he used to be in a band called Indominus, I think, as well before that. And we took off with that. And off the back of that, then Jason Christie got on to me to do a track with him and his brother. Then off the back of that, then got involved with another track, then like a Tool type track. Tom, then, as you mentioned there earlier, put out a lethal fucking drum playthrough. I got asked to do vocals on that for a grindcore fucking track. Like, never done fucking grindcore day in my life. Was well fit for it, you know what I mean? Throw it in front of me and off it fucking went, like. And there's 2 other tracks there as well, man, that are just in the pipeline too. They're just we're cutting it fine because there was an extension to the deadline, like, but it's just amazing, you know what I mean? It just fucking boom, boom, boom. And like I'm after getting a sneak peek of some of the other tracks there, man, that are available on this, and it's just like next level. Yeah, next level. Like, I can't wait till this is out, like, and anyone watching this here
did kind of say off camera, like when we were doing the recording, he said some of the stuff that's coming in is just like fucking hell, man.
Next level. You can tell the people have been honing their craft or anything like that, man. And even at the same time as well, there's people there who are novices, like hand on heart, putting their hand up saying, I'm a novice at recording, where they didn't realize like the stuff that they are recording is actually really fucking good. And when put in the hands of somebody who knows what they're doing as regards to like the producing side of it, like Josh Robinson there in JSR Audio in particular is a fucking magician. You know, not saying it's gold, but like the man he knows what to do, and he knows what right buttons and switches to fucking press and make a track that is fucking damn good to insanely good, you know. But yeah, man, enough of my fucking rambling on. Anyway, I could talk for fucking Ireland.
Yeah, we better play a bit of Rest of Nations since just get
before I get bet.
We'll come back into it again in a minute now. Fuck it. That's why I call this shooting the breeze, man. You know, like
that's it. It's a proper shooting the breeze.
I never have a fucking clue what's going to happen on this.
Neither of us know.
I should return up.
Just mad, man. I was just looking there while we were listening, so I was definitely right with my dates anyway. So I would have done the demo for that in July of 2017 because the theme loosely would have been based around the time that Chester Bennington from Linkin
Yeah.
Park died. And it was a song that I kind of had a couple of lyrics kind of sitting around, but what had happened was I had went to fucking Longford, and do you remember I was saying to you there that I went and recorded and I found the original track on the laptop. I forgot my lyric book when I was in Dublin, or when I came from Dublin, and I had all this stuff kind of written out, and that Coma of Lies thing was the working title, and it's the part that's in the chorus. But the verses, when I came home, I couldn't for the life of me remember the full shebang. What had happened was I put the mic in front of me, I jotted down what I could remember, and then I went and sang it through. And what came out then in those verses, in the verse sections, really mainly, were kind of freestyle,
Mhm.
you know, and they were kind of loosely inspired around the Chester's kind of death, you know, and it had that theme anyway that kind of flirted with suicide anyway. Um, and it's kind of mad then what it spawned into. It didn't change very much actually from what that demo was. When I went and I listened back to it, I was like, fuck, I probably changed about 2 words in the whole track, you know? And I kind of get that. Like some people have mentioned to me there that it has like a Chester Bennington kind of vibe or something like that to the vocal. Personally, I can't fucking hear it. You know, I don't think
It
it's
kind of
remotely like it.
does. It kind of does in the fact that it has kind of layers to it. You know,
Yeah,
it's similar in style, not.
maybe in approach, yeah,
Yeah,
maybe
yeah,
in delivery, should I say?
yeah,
Yeah.
yeah, yeah,
No,
exactly.
I I I suppose I get you from there, because sometimes it's very hard, like to look at a track. Sometimes you can't see the wood for the trees when you're the person that's writing it or saying, you know, it's kind of like something I mentioned earlier about like somebody saying you look like your mother or your grandparents, or you look like somebody and you can't fucking see it, but everybody else can see because it's super obvious to them. Well, it's similar with maybe songs written at that. You know, I remember singing a song ages ago, and somebody says, "Do you like Dave Gadd from the Pitch Mode?" I was like, "Huh?" They're like, "That song sounds exactly like your man. Like, you must be a big Depeche Mode fan." I was like, I like some of their songs, you know what I
Know
mean?
them
Enjoy the silence or whatever, but I mean, I
exactly.
wouldn't put them up there with me fucking me top influence, like not, not even fucking remotely. Do you know what I mean? But I guess that's it, you know.
Sure, everyone has their own perception of everything. You know, it's kind of everyone is kind of going to see something else or hear something else. You know, it just depends on their personal point of view. Like somebody that could hear it and they might think you sound like some musician we've never heard of that played somewhere 20 years ago.
Yeah,
You
because
know,
it's their fucking influences, isn't it? Really,
exactly,
that's what they're
exactly.
associating it to.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, man, that makes perfect sense. Yeah, it's been a buzz. Like even like moving on from there, like we'll say with Coma there compared to the other tracks now that I've done with, Rest of Nation since then,
Mm-hmm.
they're miles apart. I'll say now I will give one little kind of thing away there. The track that's coming up soon um falls into the same kind of category as Tacoma. Very catchy, very hooky. It was not intentional. It
Mm-hmm.
was again another song that I was given a demo many years ago. I have it somewhere on my phone. I probably want to say it's probably about 2018. It could have been as well. Just after that, the demo was put forward to me, and I couldn't write to it.
Mm-hmm.
I I was saying to the lads for years. Like as I said, I was only a collaborator with the band. I wasn't a permanent member in the band. I was only working on tracks when I had the time,
Mm-hmm.
so there was never any pressure. Stuff would be sent over to me, and I'd come up with it like a half-arsed idea or whatever, and come back to it fucking months later. And the guys had like dropped me a message, or Chris or Timmy had dropped me a message one day and say, "Hey man, are you free to play a gig or anything like that? Such a singer, and such a singer is available." So like you might know Dave Lee from Round Kingdom.
Oh yeah, he on a track with the Rom King, but sorry, the Rest of Nation. Yeah, it's a very good track
So
too.
he would have done a song, "I'm Sorry,"
Yeah, I'm
that
sorry.
would have been
Yeah.
off his. He done another song called Murmur as well, I think is as well. It's another one. And again, real unique style, real fucking cool style to him when he's in Rest of. That's not a million miles away to what he does in Realm Kingdom, but at the
No.
same time, it's still fairly unique as well, you know. But to be many times there would be like, well, such a singer or such a singer and such a singer, as I mentioned, is there. So you'd only need to do one song, or do you fancy doing a cover of The Prodigy? That's what came in. I fucking love The Prodigy.
Yeah.
Like growing up in the 80s and 90s, Fat of the Land and things like that. You know what I mean?
Music for the
Fucking
Jilted Generation is my one.
unreal. And they were like influences, you know, in the background. Never thought ever, and I'm maybe giving away a small bit here, but never ever thought of that being an influence in my modern day singing
Mm.
until that track. And I won't give away the title or anything like that,
Yeah.
but basically came up with these two words ages ago on this track. And I was like, fucking hell, you know, that sounds in my head. I kept hearing The Prodigy, kept just thinking about himself, like thinking about fucking Keith Flint
Mm-hmm.
and going, geez, it'd be deadly to do a vocal like that. But every time I went to approach the demo and every time I went to do it, I was going, I sound like a tick. Like I sound, this doesn't sound like me. Do you know what I mean? Am I emulating?
Sure.
So, you know, I felt like it was just a bit of a fucking joke doing the vocal. So anyways, what happened was I had this for ages, I was sitting on it ages. And during COVID then I was there on a day off or something like that. And I had the mic sitting in front of me that's just sitting up there on the arm. And I says, fuck it, I'm going to sit down and I'm going to put this mic in front of me the same way that I did with Coma. Obviously, I had Coma kind of written out anyway, as I said, I left the lyric book in Dublin, but I have this stuff that's been rattling around my head for ages, and I'm just going to grow a pair and I'm going to just do whatever comes naturally. And then if that's what that is, that's what it is.
Mm-hmm.
If it sounds like your man Keith Flint or whatever it is, so fucking be it. We'll call it a tribute. And that was just it, you know. And he's gone a couple of years now as well.
Yeah, I've noticed a
And it was
recurring
another
theme of you fucking sound like
me
dead
singing a fucking
musicians.
dead singers, man. Do you know what I mean? What the fuck? Like, do you know they're gone now, so I can rob their style now. They can't say anything about it.
Just don't pick any musicians, singers that are alive now, just in case.
At the
Don't
moment,
fucking
Jane Kiss,
jinx
I
it,
put the
like.
curse on them. But I just put the mic in front of me then, man, and out came this vocal. And then I wasn't too sure of it myself, and I was kind of like, oh, don't know, do you know, there's a bit of a twang to it. Like there's an Irishy, Englishy, funny twang that I've done that is not something I've ever done before. I sent it on to the guys, and the guys were like, "That's fucking deadly. Like, that's cool. You know what I mean? Let's go and record that." And then bang, fucking COVID hit again, another lockdown. Couldn't record, couldn't do nothing. And then, yeah, we were fucking around with it. And I was saying, look, I'll go in and I'll re-record these vocals. You know, we'll go into the studio properly and do it.
Hmm.
And then we had a kind of band meeting and a bit of a kind of powwow about it. And basically says, the demo vocals that you've recorded, because they were recorded with a high quality mic. It wasn't a case of that they were recorded half-arsed or anything like that. It was just that I thought, right, well, that was a first pass demo. Maybe I can do better, you know? And then the lads had kind of convinced me going, I'll give you an example here, but they were basically saying there's a real attitude to them vocals. And if you were to try and go into the studio there, you're going to try and emulate an attitude and a bit of a unsure, uncertainness, that nervous energy. You're going to try and do that in the studio and you're going to make a fake version of that. Whereas what you've done there is real kind of genuine. And I kind of got where the boys were coming from. And Timmy came up with a perfect fucking example was when Rage Against the Machine were recording. And I'm not 100% sure on the track, but I'm just going to throw a title out there. I think it was something like Bulls on Parade.
Mm-hmm.
And your man Zach De La Rocha had recorded his vocals as a demo somewhere with a very normal handheld mic, not a studio quality mic. Had recorded these vocals, the demo, and the guys loved it. And then when it went into the studio, it wasn't working. They tried fucking umpteen amount of mics to try and emulate that gritty kind of sound and I don't know, the raspiness or whatever it was.
Mm-hmm.
And it wasn't working. So they ended up using his original demo from the rehearsal studio on the actual track.
Mm-hmm.
And they spruced it up a bit with whatever compressors and so on and so forth on it, but it delivered that energy and that, I don't know, uncertain fucking, I'm trying this out for the first time kind of thing. Does it work or not? You know, hitting certain notes a certain way or certain snarl on a certain vocal. And yeah, man, just fucking, it worked. So the guys that kind of said that to me, they were like, I think this works. So I went back then and listened because I'm a bit of a perfectionist, and I listened back to it, and I kind of went, yeah, I think you're right. Let's just leave it. And so we sent off my vocal stems, then just the raw vocal, nothing on it, sent it off. Then the boys went in when the studios opened up again. They went in and done whatever final touches they wanted to do, or, you know, new drum parts or whatever it would be in the studio. Went in, polished it up on the music aspect, and then just tweaked the vocal a small bit. And that was fucking amazing. But then what happened out of that then was when we started doing kind of social media content, and we're kind of messing around as to how to, I guess, just fucking promote the band, you know, during COVID, because we're not gigging, what to do. I was on about doing covers, and that was what led us to this. I done a cover of one of the other singers, John, one of his old tracks called Cliff's Edge. Went in, done the track, and it was well received. John loved it. He thought it was deadly that I was singing his track and it was in my style and whatever. And he says, "Hey man, can I sing on your song? Can I sing on that one?" And I says, "It's not released yet, man. We have to do songs that are released, this new one that we're releasing." And again, being very covert here, not releasing the name yet, but he says, "Can I sing on that?" And I says, "Well, I'll do you one better. Why don't you just sing on it? Why don't you just write your own part to it? And you can be involved in the song, because we're trying to get everybody to collaborate together. Why don't you just do all my vocals on it? Your voice is deadly. Why don't you just do the fucking lot?" No, I couldn't do that. I don't want to do that. But maybe I'll write a part to it. So we didn't do anything, and weeks had kind of passed by. And what had happened off that then was Timmy had kind of said, "Do you remember a couple of weeks back you were on about John singing on the track? Well, how about John and Bondi singing it?" And then all three singers, permanent singers in the band, are actually going to feature on this track. That's about as much as I can give away. But what happened was that entire track had been fully recorded and signed off, and says, "Yeah, that's done. That's another one in the bag now to go towards the album." And then all of a sudden, an idea spawned, and that's how quick something can change. And it was like, fuck, let's get the lads in, then we'll go and DIY this as well. We'll go in and we'll self-record these vocals as well and see does the magic work. And fuck, did it work, man. Come out with an absolute banger of a track, like. And I know obviously I'm giving it away to you, and whoever watches this here, like, they'll look at the track and be like, all right, well, they added that in later. But to the person that doesn't know about it, would think that was just how it was written from the beginning, and that was how it played out. You know, that's the studio magic. That's the shit that happens behind the scenes, you know.
Exactly. Like the it's funny you touch on Rage Against the Machine there, man. I used to have a lot of respect for that band, but now, like, the pro-socialist fucking anti-capitalist band charging like 100 fucking euro for a ticket, like, you know, it's just what
I was
the
kind of
fuck.
laughing at that myself.
But anyways, I
It's
just
a
want to
far
throw that,
cry
I'm gonna
from
throw
what
that
it
in there.
started out as.
So I throw that in there for the crack, you know.
Yeah.
To be honest, man, you're probably as well off the album didn't come out during this lockdown, because Andy from the Crawling said it himself in the last interview, like, we got to get a bit of a burst, but then it just fucking dies a death because you can't promote it, and
You can't gig to back it up.
what you're
That's
back in
the
the
problem.
studio and not doing things remotely. The magic of the studio, what this song you've described, can happen. That
Yeah,
can't happen if you're working remotely. Everyone just sends in their
it's
bits and
hard.
put together. You
Yeah,
know, you need a studio, and especially with something like Rest of Nation, you kind of all need to be together when everyone has their own input and just puts it
yeah,
all in together. And you know, it's a great thing in a lot of respects that it hasn't happened until now, because we are kind of
yeah, for
coming
sure.
to the end of things now. You know, where there's a lot of opinions now at the moment. We won't go down that rabbit hole, but
Yeah, of course.
like fucking hell, look, I'll say this to you, we're having a gig in Roscommon on the 28th of August, like.
Wow.
Yeah,
28th of August, right?
yeah, we've got a good friend of mine got in contact with me. He just said, like, I have a farmhouse here in Roscommon. I have a lot of space, and I've got this and that. I said, can we put a
Nice.
gig on down here? And I said, oh, Jesus, I think we can.
Yeah.
So if rest of nation were potentially interested, like, we still have a spot available if you wanted to come
Nice,
down.
yeah, man. I float it to the guys and fucking see. I think at this stage everybody's chomping at the bit. So
Yeah, yeah, with like
yeah, let me
Lugosi
speak to
are,
the lads.
yeah, Lugosi are confirmed already, and I'm waiting to hear back from Brendan from Black Shuck.
Fuck, right.
Yeah,
Lugosi, you're there. Yeah, that's our boys, man. We've
yeah,
played
yeah.
so many gigs with them.
It's going to be a camping type thing, and we're going to put the stage in a shed, and we've got like so far we've got 30 foot of a gazebo to put in front of the stage. So regardless of the
Fuck.
weather, we're going to have a kind of roofed area in front of it, and we're going to have
Jesus,
a
man. Don't
barbecue.
don't get me excited about that now.
And we're going to have a
Yeah.
barbecue as well, and camping and shit, like.
Jesus, if we don't play, man, I'm definitely attending that.
Oh
That's
yeah,
that sounds good.
we're
That's
gonna have
down your neck of the woods.
yeah, we're just gonna have 50 people at it. We keep it to 50 people outside the
Yeah,
band. And tenner a head job, like people pay, just to pay for whatever few things and barbecue food and whatever. And obviously, everyone coming in with us to sign a book on the way and that they're coming in at their own risk, because
yeah, yeah, yeah.
it's a man's house at the end of the day. So yeah, we're doing that on the
Fuck, man.
28th of August in a hidden place in Roscommon. Like I can kind of give away the date because God fucking help you trying to find where this place is, man. It's not too far out of Roscommon town, but
Yeah.
it'd be like the fucking breadcrumbs trail trying to find this place, man.
Jesus fucking Christ, down some bog lane.
Oh, it's beside a bog. Believe it or not, it's
Yeah,
beside a bog.
yeah, I had a feeling.
It's beside a bog. It's very, very close to a bog.
Fuck's sake. That's amazing. Yeah, let me speak to the guys about it, man. And
Yeah, yeah. Look, if you
yeah,
can't play it itself, like even if you want it yourself, and if you other people want to come down, let me know, man. I'm keeping it
fucking
off
right.
the radar as such, because I want to get as many fucking people that I know are going to be fucking sound as possible, and want to just
Yeah, yeah.
watch four bands, eat barbecue, camp over, and just with portaloos and whatnot sorted out because his missus doesn't want people coming in the house, but that's fair enough.
Yeah, of course, Jesus.
Yeah, she only gave us
That's
the go
heavy.
ahead there at the weekend. Like I went down to her on Saturday and I said, "Look, don't worry, we'll get portaloos. No one's going in the house."
Yeah, you won't have to worry about the
Exactly.
jacks
And
getting
we're going to
blacked
make
up.
everyone sign the book on the way in that they're coming in at their own risk. And she was like, "All right, so you hear a fucking whatever. Go
Crazy
on, so and do it."
bastards.
You know?
Jesus Christ, man. Fair folks. Fair
Oh
folks.
yeah, look at man. If you can't do it
DIY.
the traditional way, get a fucking farmhouse out in the country and fucking build a stage and put it
DIY
on.
till you die. Man, that's how a lot of the old crusty kind of gigs, not
Yeah.
even crusty gigs, but a lot of the old punk gigs were
Oh yeah.
find somebody with a bit of land and
Oh yeah.
just throw a load of people in there. But I tell you, they didn't have the luxury of portaloos back then. It's pissing in a ditch
Oh,
and
there'll be
just.
plenty of that too now. Don't worry about that. Man. The Portaloo will be fucking exclusive for people who need to go number two,
Oh man, that's VIP. Oh, Phil, fair fucks you, man.
Oh, no
Jesus
bother,
Christ.
no bother. So look at anyways, I don't know how long we've got on here, but we better kind of leave it at that now,
Yeah, I
and
think the listeners or viewers are falling asleep at this stage.
look
These
at no
cunts ever
bother.
shut up.
Look, man, it was good to finally have a good old chat with you anyway, man. I've
Ah, it's
known of you
amazing,
for a
man.
long time now, but
No, it's amazing, man. It was lovely and natural. Just good banter, good crack.
exactly,
Hope everybody
exactly.
enjoys us talking shite and shooting the breeze.
Sure, look at if people watch or not, whatever, it's been a bit of crack anyway, and that's the main thing.
That's it, man. That's it. We had our fun, and that's all that matters.
Exactly, exactly. All right, man.
Nice one,
Nice
man.
one. Cheers.
Appreciate it.
No bother, man.